Hello, and welcome to episode 16 of Body, the Cloud9 Fancast. Today we'll be discussing the 6.22 preseason patch and how it will affect the game, the interesting revelations from the Piglet Twitter hack and other LCS news, as well as whatever else we can cram in. I'm your host, Havokpus, and today I'm joined by...
Hey everyone, it's frozencreek. It seemed like we've done way more than 16 episodes so far.
I know, it's been a really long time.
Hey guys, it's Trey, back again.
Yes, welcome back, Trey. It's nice to have the new addition, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, to another episode.
Glad to be here.
Well, guys, the preseason patch is out, or the first preseason patch is out, and there were a lot of changes made to the game. Let's kind of dive in and explore them a bit. Touching up first with the Assassins, Rengar, Katarina, LeBlanc, and Talon received major reworks, while several other Assassins like Zed, Echo, Fizz, Akali, Shaco, and the like all received very minor tweaks and changes. And what are your guys' impressions about the Assassin changes? Assassin changes so far.
I think. I'll go on.
I was just going to say that I think that they should have added a first-person perspective or a better third person for Talon because I wanted to play Assassin's Creed correctly, but
yeah, you gotta parkour all you can. You know, they need to really up that element so you can really feel like you're vaulting through the jungle.
I thought they did a pretty good job of balancing it this time around. It doesn't feel like anyone is super OP besides maybe a Rengar who seems strong. But I've played against Katarina's, LeBlanc's, and Talons who have had good games and have had bad games. But it just seems like they're in a pretty good state right now.
Yeah, I think that at least with Katarina, LeBlanc, and Talon, their kits are kind of more spread out. So it's not about just like one-shotting you, it's about actually trying to play with your abilities. That seemed to completely miss Rengar, because he's still one-shotting me. And I hate how they changed his ultimate, because instead of just having an exclamation point which says like, oh hey, Rengar's nearby, it's, oh, did my screen just dim a bit? This is weird. Oh, I'm dead. So it's just kind of frustrating to play as, because it's a really weird way to do the visual cue. And I'm just not a fan of it.
yeah, I saw it a little bit as almost like that effect from Super Mario Maker, where the screen just shakes a little bit and it dims everything.
Yeah, that's kind of the impression I got.
But I don't know. I feel that all the Assassins, the updates were good. I do think LeBlanc is very strong right now and will need some tweaking, but other than that, I think it's good.
What do you guys think about the changes that they made to stealth? So now instead of just everything kind of being in this weird sliding scale of invisibility, now you have camouflage, which you can't see an enemy champion unless they're very close to you, kind of like Evelyn's passive, or invisibility, where you can't see them completely. And the control wards, which have kind of replaced pink wards, now no longer reveal invisible targets. So, what do you guys think of this? Is it kind of the same? Is it kind of difficult to play around these types of champions because you're having to be more cautious than you used to, and it's hard to get used to? What do you think?
I wish that they didn't change the name of the wards. The control ward just sounds so weird to like say, and I feel like on a broadcast, a control ward, it doesn't sound quite as cool as like a pink. Though it kind of does the same thing, but it doesn't. I don't know if I hate it yet or not, but I do miss like the name Pink Ward, and I think that's like the big thing that's thrown me off.
I still call it pink words. The neutralization of traps I do like, because Teemo shrooms are just about the most annoying thing ever, and stuff like Shaco boxes are also kind of lame to run into in the jungle. But other than that, it just feels kind of like a clunkier pink ward, because it does all the same things that pink ward kind of used to do, except it just doesn't reveal any kind of stealth champions, which just makes the game kind of difficult to play against them. Because that's really your only defense against like a Shaco or a Rengar or something. You just place the pink ward down and, oh, I found him. But now you have to, like, I guess use like a sweeper lens, and whenever they go invisible, you just have to kind of run around like a panicked chicken, just trying to hit it.
Well, I agree with you somewhat, but I think this is actually a big boost moving towards kind of what used to be, where pink wards weren't necessarily all that strong. Like, because in Season 3, pink wards were a lot different. So I think the control wards are actually a kind of new light, and it also adds power to a lot of champions whose stealth has really been sought out because everybody just buys a pink ward. Like, I feel that Shaco is now a lot better. Kha'Zix is a lot better. As much as I hate to say it, Teemo is a lot better. But I think the difference between invisibility and camouflage make it kind of twisted and turned depending on which champion, because I feel like there will be a lot of angry people on either one side or the other.
I can agree with that. Yeah, I mean, champion health with assassins is especially important since before they were kind of really feast or famine, and it was a really risky pick because if you didn't pop off on one, your team was basically down a man because you couldn't really do as much. That's an interesting point about the pink wards. I haven't played. I started at like kind of the tail end of Season 4, so I have like no knowledge of the past like 3 seasons of how the game was before then. So really my only knowledge with is like 5 and 6. So that's a good perspective to bring in.
Mm-hmm. I do, however, miss it being called a vision ward. I know everybody called it pinks, but it was very...
vision ward before it was cool.
Yeah. Kind of like how we used to have green wards, may they rest in peace.
Oh,
Rip.
I miss mana potions so much.
Sort of the occult.
Yeah. Speaking of items, though, there were a lot of changes to some items. Armor Pen kind of got a facelift, and now it kind of scales with the enemy level with lethality, which I think can be useful since, as the game goes on, Assassin Armor Pen builds kind of start to fall off because, you know, they just kind of get tankier and tankier or whatever. I'm curious, Trey, what do you think about ADs that built armor penetration items and how this will affect them? Because a lot of these also got item passive changes and such that alter how they were played before these changes.
Well, I think it makes it about... There's a slight change, but I feel like all the champs that are going to be affected by these differences are actually going to be better off in the late game. Like, I think the lethality makes it more consistent, like, makes their damage more consistent and makes them not necessarily stronger, but more stable.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because the problem with, like, Lucian or Jhin going the armor penetration build, there was always a point in the game where you would just have to start stelling stuff and going for the classic crit build, because eventually your damage would just start to fall off and you'd just be kind of useless. So, yeah, I get what you're saying there. Well, what do you think, Frozen?
I don't have much to add. I just think that it was kind of a cool mechanic for ADCs to choose between having a better early game or a better late game. But I'm kind of glad to start to see some of the more armor pen ADCs drop out, because I really hate playing against Misfortune.
Crit build Misfortune's great though. Her ult crits, your Q crits, it actually hits harder because crit love taps are actually pretty strong, and you can like one-shot minion waves. So it's actually pretty great. I'm a big fan of it. I know most people don't like it.
I hate her.
And they prefer the armor penetration build, but I'm a champion of crit build Misfortune.
I don't like Misfortune just because I get PTSD to Worlds and support Misfortune and
Now
not a
everyone's
great
picking
time.
support misfortune.
Don't get me started.
That might be it for another episode. But let's shift gears to talk about probably the next big change in 6.22, which is the jungle. They've gotten rid of smite bonuses. They changed up how some of the camps work, and they've added jungle seeds, which are these RNG little plants that spawn and have different effects. I'm not a jungle main myself, but I think these changes are mostly positive. I don't know about you two.
I was a jungle secondary in season 6. I like the plants more than I thought they would. They don't affect as much as I thought that they were going to, at least in my elo, which isn't great. The one thing I really, really, really don't like is Gromp. The new Gromp is really stupid, and it takes forever, and it's a stupid mechanic that I don't really see too much of a reason for, except to give a more XP because you spend a more time there. But I think it's stupid, and I miss the Raptor Smite buff. That's like the big thing that I miss.
Gromp, what does it do? It kind of like
Oh, not
attacks
Gromp.
faster. Oh, Krugs. You're
And
thinking
not
of
Grump.
Krugs.
Krugs, yeah, Krugs.
Yes, yes.
God, I feel like an
I
idiot
think
now.
that's kind of a
Krugs.
cute,
I think Krugs are stupid as hell.
I think it's kind of a cute mechanic. 'Cause they just kind of keep
No, it's
coming.
stupid.
And then, well, if you have enough wave clear, you can kind of do it fast enough. Time for Shyvana to shine. It's her time, right here.
I personally think that the Krugs edition is really good, just because it gives you so much XP for doing that camp now and so much more gold than it used to. So it makes it actually a little bit more valuable, even though it takes a little bit more time. In terms of the plants, they aren't actually as RNG as you think. They always will spawn in a certain position. So what I have realized is I think the plants are actually really positive. But I have had a couple times when I've used the red one, which is called Blast Cone, hopped over Dragon Wall, and then realized that there was 5 people at Dragon.
I've had different experience where since I'm an ADC main, I will run over to a blasting cone and auto attack it so I can jump over. But I'm not in the radius, like the blast radius, so it just explodes, and then I just sit there looking like an idiot.
I just did that like maybe 15 minutes ago.
It's not the best feeling.
I felt like an idiot.
You just want to quit the game.
I really like the Vision one. The Vision
Scryer's
thing.
Bloom.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool addition since they took out a lot of the pink ward effects. And I think that it helps a little bit more with a vision control and vision denial. So I do like the switches for the plants a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I think that kind of helps with clearing the river away, since river vision control is a pretty important aspect of the game, and that's what most of the junglers use that Raptor buff for. So this is kind of a good replacement. I personally like taking away smite buffs because it made jungling a lot trickier, because you had to kind of know when to smite camps at which times during the game. Like, Krugs is good early, but at some point, smiting it just becomes pointless, so it's like, well, I can't really smite this. And it just makes holding your smite this really complex thing, and I kind of like that they've simplified it. It just makes my life easier since I'm not a good player.
And another thing I don't like about the Krugs change, and I don't mind the Raptors change, but like it kind of adds on to it, is that there's so much experience on the red buff side, so the blue side of the map gets a huge benefit from being on the red buff side near Dragon, because they can farm so much more than someone who might be trying to control Dragon and all they have to farm is Gromp and Wolves.
Well, I think it's kind of a trade-off, because blue side jungle, it doesn't have as much experience, but it's a lot quicker to clear. While red side jungle is slower but has more experience. So you have to kind of figure out what you want. Do you want to have a big level advantage over your enemy jungler, or do you want to do really quick clears so you can pressure the map? So it's kind of making that decision in kind of affects your pathing a little bit more. At least I think that's what they intended to do. That's how I'm interpreting it anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I do think, however, that it also depends on what type of jungler you're playing. They kind of made it to where blue-focused junglers are going to be looking for a gank early because they're going to be on that side of the map. Or how red-focused junglers are most likely going to clear all of their red side, either immediately go for a gank after that, or just back because they'll have enough gold to get their item. So it creates kind of a new dynamic and a new separation between different types of junglers.
It'll be interesting to see how the pro junglers react to this and how this kind of affects the pro scene. Because that's what I've really been curious about mostly. All the assassin items, yeah, mid laners can play assassins now. Jensen and Bjergsen can play, Zed and LeBlanc more and all that other stuff, blah, blah, blah. But the jungle is where I think making those really small changes really makes a big impact on the game. Just because that's the role that's trying to make the most impact on the map. And that's where a lot of the changes in game kind of happen. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree.
So, do you guys want to talk about support changes a little bit? I know we've been talking our heads off about it, but there's been a lot of changes to this patch. And the only other big change really has been with supports. Aegis no longer grants an MR aura, but it does have armor now, so it's a bit of a tankier item. Redemption heals allies and damages enemies, and you can also cast it while you're dead, so that should be fairly useful. Knight's Vow, it's pretty much like Tariq's, I think, what's that ability? Bastion? I think? It's pretty much like Bastion. And there's also a Keystone, Courage of the Colossus, which you get a shield when you apply any sort of crowd control effect. So I think bundling that all together, I can see tank supports being a really big thing now, because they have a lot more tools to affect the lane earlier. But what do you guys think?
I like the change to Aegis just because it was kind of a must build at one point, but as someone who likes to play support, I kind of don't like it because it was a really strong item, but I think for the state of the game, it's healthier to give MR and armor and also have like a little shield without being too broken.
I personally, I think Aegis had been getting weaker, but this pretty much kills it as a must-buy. It'll not be there for a while. Redemption, I think, will be a must-buy, especially in competitive play. It seems disgustingly strong. And I think Knight's Vow actually might be a good item on all tanks, not just tank supports. From what I've played, past 30 minutes, if you're grouping and you're, say, a tank top, and you connect that to your ADC, you won't die.
Yeah, I can certainly see that. Being able to like kind of take damage away from the carries and kind of let you as a tank soak it up, which is your job basically, and let you kind of do that a bit more effectively, will certainly open up a lot more opportunities for other roles. I think Courage of the Colossus is probably the big winner for tanks, because you're able to really go in and not have this big risk of maybe dying, since you have that shield.
It's so I'm sorry, this new Keystone is so infuriating if you're on the other team. Because if an Alistar goes into 5 people, he's going to be able to get a 49% shield of his health.
Yeah, I know I played with a Nautilus support a few days ago, and it was really great because he would just land a hook, and then I would just follow up, and he would lose almost no health because he has that shield and he has his W shield. So he would just have this incredible shield where he wouldn't take like any damage, and we would almost kill the enemy bot lane. So it's like, how do you play against that besides just playing super safe?
Yeah, and that's on top of his ultimate too. So
Oh yeah, yeah. So he's just CC bots like that are just they're going to be twice as hard to play against now.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that the new Alistar is a bit overpowered though, like ability wise, kind of like a Thresh is, because he had his pulverize and knock up, and now he has a stun on top of that.
The stun definitely adds a lot to his kit, but I think it's more so that the stun may do something, but you have to also remember that he gets pretty much a free Sunfire, and if you just sit there for 5 seconds, he gets a stun on top of that. So it's a really strong ability that I think makes Alistar a lot more valued.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks because he was like a must pick or ban in season 5 for most of it, and he saw a lot of play in season 6. Yeah, like it was nice to see other supports come in and see other play styles, and I don't think throwing Alistar in as a top contention pick right away was the best choice for diversity. But I do think he does have enough weaknesses to exploit with different champions that we will see some good picks against him too.
Yeah, I think this kind of opens up for Sivir to kind of probably be one of the things you choose to counter him, because you can kind of spell shield part of his combo. And I think that this kind of delays some of his crowd control. So you have a little bit more breathing room, I guess. So I could certainly see that. And there are probably other ways too. Any final thoughts, Trey?
I just think that it's definitely a big change up, and this whole patch has created a whole new dynamic to the game that I think will bring up a lot of new strategies, and a couple of players I think will rise up because of it.
What about you, Frozen? Final thoughts?
I don't think I have any.
Okay. Well, I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how the professional players will react to the
We
all
get
the
the first
changes.
look this weekend, right?
Oh yes, that's right. Oh wait, no. IEM is going to be played on 6.21
Oh.
for some odd reason, so we're not going to be able to see that at
Alright.
all. I think we might see it with the combine.
The
Whatever you
scouting
call it.
grounds,
Scouting grounds, yes. I'm going to call it the combine because it's easier.
the
But yeah,
LCS Columba.
yeah. Well, yeah, I think we might see it there. But wait, I'll mention that a bit. But
Yeah, we'll come back to
the
that.
big story for LCS news. The biggest story is Piglet's Twitter was hacked. Gasp. The hacker leaked, quote unquote, several interesting details that are now up for speculation. Dardak has rejoined TL, but Reignover might join them as well, and if so, he'll role swap to ADC. Everyone from Immortals is going to a new team, so they'll have a completely new roster. Huni and Reignover might return to Fnatic, but with a new mid laner. Also, Huni is thinking of playing mid next season. Powelter might go to Team Liquid. It pretty much all depends on Reignover and Team Liquid situation. Smeb and Reignover would have joined Team Liquid if it wasn't for that ESPN article. I'm not sure about the context of that. I heard something about it, but
Jacob Wolf.
Yeah, I know about him.
He posted the ESPN article was pretty much just a article
Was it
that
one of
said
those insider
was,
sources?
Yeah, he said that Rox was going to pretty much disband its team after Worlds.
Oh,
So-
that article. Yeah, I remember that one.
So that created a big fuss.
Okay, yeah. And the other two were Smoothie got kicked from Cloud9, and PSG wanted Piglet for 10k a month, but he rejected them over and over. Now, the good thing is, before you guys start pounding away at your keyboards and crying in horror, Jack and Jensen both confirmed that this is not true. Smoothie's going to stay with Cloud9, at least for the time being, until more roster news is announced throughout the off-season. But at least for now, Smoothie is still on the team, so yay, protein shake.
Also, this was confirmed. This was one of the only things that was confirmed. Wild Turtle is rejoining TSM, and he will be playing for them in IEM Oakland this weekend.
That should be pretty exciting to see. Not just that Wild Turtle returning to TSM, but seeing TSM kind of try to pick up the pieces and perform after what some would argue a humiliating performance at Worlds. Maybe not humiliating, but just really disappointing.
Yeah, I will say that I really hope Wild Turtle gets a Penta on stage and Double Lift loses his job just as Chaos did.
I wouldn't be all too surprised because Wild Turtle did look pretty good last split, but I thought that Double Lift brought a lot of experience and playmaking and game control to the ADC position that I'm not sure if Wild Turtle brings all.
Yeah, I think Doublelift was like him and Bjergsen were probably like the two halves of the shot calling coin. You had Bjergsen kind of coordinating, I think more like maybe like macro wise, while Doublelift was kind of trying to manage the lanes. Maybe I'm not sure exactly how it worked, but it seemed that him and Doublelift were kind of like the main leaders of the team, and everyone kind of followed them. So it'll be interesting to see how their dynamic changes now that he's gone. Maybe Bjergsen will once again kind of take over and become the main shot caller like he was in like season 5 before Doublelift came on. Who knows for sure. Going back to the Team Liquid stuff, what do you think is going to happen with like Team Liquid and Immortals? Because they're both in kind of very interesting positions.
I think that Immortals is very well managed so far, so I'm not quite sure what's going to happen, but from everything I've seen, it's said that everyone is going to leave the team, and they're going to try and get a whole new team. I think it would have been nice for at least Pole Belter to stay, so that they could work around at least someone, but it doesn't look like anyone's going to stay.
Yeah, I agree. I think that you need at least kind of one person for like seniority, just so you can kind of lead the newcomers and kind of dictate, here's how we do things on Immortals. You know, here's how practice is going to be like, here's how all this other stuff, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm not sure why the other people would leave Immortals. I think really their problem was just coaching, because it seemed like their strategy was just let Huni get fed and then he'll carry us and win. But if he doesn't get fed, then everyone just kind of crumbles apart because he loses confidence. So maybe Huni was the problem. There's a lot of factors, but I think that most of their issues were probably coaching related. At least I think.
It could have just been that they were sick and tired of losing together, and that they thought that roster changes had to be made for them to step it up and jump over the hump. Maybe they didn't trust each other enough or whatever, but I guess they just didn't see their future together at Immortals either.
Kind of like with Team Liquid, that Breaking Point movie was a really interesting insight into kind of the inner workings of a team and kind of showing what kind of goes on and really just what a ticking time bomb that team was. So they'll probably definitely be making some changes.
For sure.
I'm interested to see what Dardoch does. I don't think he should go back to Team Liquid. I think he should join Echo Fox. But at this point,
they definitely need a new jungler.
I think Echo Fox is dead weight, personally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Keith is probably the best person on that team. KFO isn't put out for competitive.
Is Froggen just a burnout? Is he just done?
I think Froggen is good, but I think the way that Echo Fox is managed, while I think Rick Fox is a smart person, I don't think that whoever he has as managing that team is doing it correctly.
I can agree with that, but I think that with Dardoch, with what I've seen of Dardoch's personality, at least from the stuff that's been posted, I think that him and Froggen would make a good team, just because it would get him out of Team Liquid, where he's kind of in like this kind of toxic mindset, and give him like a fresh new opening to work with someone who seems to be softer and more experienced, and in Frog. And while I do agree that the rest of the team sucks, but I think that they would make a duo to work around each other and build around.
I think also Rick Fox can he has a lot more experience in sports, so he can kind of lead Dardoch and coming from a point of understanding, go, look, I know where you're coming from, behavior like this happens or whatever, and kind of correct him. But moving on to some other quick little tidbits, Impact is going to All-Stars, C9 fans. Him, along with Rainover, Bjergsen, Doublelift, and Afromove have been chosen to represent North America at Barcelona. So get ready to watch that. I think it's this weekend, right? This weekend or next? I'm not sure.
Next weekend, I believe, because they don't want it to conflict with IEM Oakland.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. So next weekend. Also, the NA Scouting Grounds finalists have been announced. You can check those out at lolesports.com. They said they're going to release all the VODs or periodically release them after this Sunday. So if you want to see what these up-and-coming challenger players are like, go click those. But moving on to our last discussion topic, we're going to talk about franchising, you guys. There was a recent... actually, Frozen, why don't you build this up, since you're the one that linked the article?
For franchising? Yeah, so,
Yes.
I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but I believe it was 10 teams signed a letter to Riot about franchising the LCS. So that would essentially mean that everyone who's in the LCS at the time of franchising would get frozen there, and it would just be those 10 teams for eternity, I guess, or until LCS is done. So there's been a lot of controversy around it. I know when there was talk of ad revenue and stuff a couple months ago, franchising was brought up, and people were for franchising at that time, it seemed, but it's kind of started to flip-flop either way, and people are kind of not indifferent, but they have a decision whether they like it or not.
You go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I believe it was 18 teams across NA and EU. But I was just going to say that they aren't necessarily saying that it will be those teams forever. It's more so like a NBA or NFL situation where you would have, if you want more teams, you would have expansions, or you could still sell your teams, and that would make it much more valuable to the owners.
Yeah, and this is something that was brought forward by the owners, because it's something that directly benefits them. There are a lot of arguments they could place forward, but I think at the end of the day, I don't think it's that healthy for LCS right now. I don't think that there's any benefits to the teams that are like towards the bottom and just aren't good, and I think it only benefits the teams at the top and at the very, very bottom.
I can agree with that. The top teams, I think, kind of are looking for that job security of franchising, just because, even if they have a bad season one year, one split, they're still going to be there. Versus like those bottom teams, they're really struggling to stay away from that relegation area. The relegation stuff is kind of exciting, because you kind of see, is new blood going to be added, or are the same kind of crappy teams going to just stay in there anyway? There are other issues, I think, with like investors. The relegation thing makes League of Legends as an esport kind of a very high risk thing, because you put all this money into a team, but then they get relegated after one split. Then it's like, well, where'd all my money go? But with franchising, you can kind of build up an organization through time, just like any other sports league. It's a really kind of great issue. I'm on the fence about it. I know you guys said you're against franchising when we were talking off the record. I think the LCS is still kind of young, So even if they did franchising, I think they could still kind of do what the NBA or the NFL did when they were young and just kind of expand and just add more and more teams until they find a really healthy, even number or whatever. But this is all stuff that's probably would need like 5 or so more years to kind of plan out and see how it all develops. So right now we can only speculate, I guess.
My main thing is that, sure, if it would be more like, I guess, American sports in a way that there wouldn't be any kind of a relegation at all. But these teams at the bottom, like Echo Fox, are going to end up at the bottom almost every year because there's not enough turnover. And there's not like a big enough a pool of players to bring in. I don't think, and it's not like they can just draft someone if they tank and do poorly. I mean, my hometown team, the Detroit Lions, have been doing that for years, and I think it would turn out kind of like that. And most of the teams at the bottom would just be crap all the time, but because they wouldn't be able to bring in the good players that are so far and few and are playing like the top like 4 or 5 teams. But I also think that if they're not going to do franchising, that the main thing that needs to be fixed is Challenger Series, because it's kind of a joke and a clusterfuck right now.
I could definitely see it being changed to just kind of like a major, like a major minor league thing. But the LCS would just be like the Major League Baseball kind of thing, and then Challenger would just be minor league, and it would just operate kind of similarly.
Well, I think the AAA, AA situation is smart, but again, most people in the AA leagues won't get a chance to play unless somebody either gets hurt on the AAA team or they play really, really well in AA league. So, especially in a game where there's only 5 spots, you have to think that with how many players there are, you need this system to give those players a chance.
Yeah, that's true as well. All very good points. If you have an opinion on franchising the LCS, please leave a comment below. We'd love to see your thoughts on the topic. So, let's see, Trey. There was some other esports stuff happening. I don't think there was a lot, but the CS:GO team did qualify for IEM Oakland.
Yeah, they ended up getting second at iBuyPower Masters. They went first in their group, but they ended up losing to Immortals in the finals. But they will be in a group with Heroic, SK, NIP, Mouse, and FaZe. Now, Virtus was supposed to be in this group, but they dropped out to extensive scheduling. So Heroic is replacing them. This is probably going to be a big test for Cloud9 to see if they are an actual A-ranking team, because there is not really a necessarily bad team in this group. So it'll be really interesting to see what's going to happen.
I also just want to throw in that Cloud9 actually starts on Thursday, November 17th, and they start at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time, given that IEM doesn't manage to screw everything up and start delays. I'm not sure when this is going to get out, but we're going to push it out as soon as possible. So maybe that's relevant.
Yeah, but watch them play, support the team. CS:GO is actually a really fun game to watch. I've certainly gotten into it more, and I really want to see the team succeed, especially with Cloud9, just because, just to kind of see the improvement that they made. It's been just a really nice ride to watch these players kind of rise to the occasion. So I'm definitely going to watch it, so I hope you guys do too. Alright guys, it looks like we're kind of nearing the end of the episode. Do you guys have a favorite moment of the week from esports? Maybe any tiny thing you kind of want to add that we might have missed, or anything you didn't really get to say?
I
think. Sorry,
okay,
you go
I was
first.
just saying I don't really have a specific moment, I guess, but I'm just excited that Pokemon Sun and Moon are coming out on Friday. I have my copy being shipped, so I'm excited to start playing that.
Oh yeah. That should be really fun. Gotta catch all them Pokemans. I'm probably gonna get Moon so you can get the
Yeah,
werewolf
I thought
dog.
the legendary Pokemon in Moon looks so much cooler, so I pre-ordered that one.
I would probably say my moment of the week was hearing that solo queue is not coming back yet. That's not a positive moment of the week, but it's definitely a moment of the week, and I'm going to be constantly waiting for solo queue to come back. That way I can start just grinding it out.
I mean, I'm just stoked to get thrown in bronze a 5, like it seems everyone else is doing.
Same.
At least flex queue ratings got fixed.
Allegedly.
Yeah. At least now you don't have to go up against challenger level players with your
Bronze 3 account.
your with your bronze 3 account. Good thing they changed that. My favorite moment of the week was probably Jensen streaming.
Oh, yeah.
He streamed this week. It's always a nice time when Jensen's streaming. He's become such a positive dude. I love watching him stream just because he's just like, everyone makes mistakes.
He's
It's
trying
fine.
so hard.
We're just gonna try to improve. I know you can tell he is, but I think that's important that he's trying to just become better. I think so good on you, Jensen.
You can like tell that his teeth are like grinding as he says it too. He's like, everybody makes mistakes. You're just here to get better.
That's what makes it kind of funny.
Oh, for sure.
I'm just glad.
But at least he's
Yeah,
trying.
I'm
to
glad
change.
he's playing.
I think that's the important thing, that he's trying to get better.
This came quite a ways from being DDoSer to this, so.
And Vigar main.
That's a success story in and of itself. All right. Well, thank you for listening to the 16th episode of Bodied the Cloud9 Fancast. Feel free to tweet questions and feedback to @C9Bodied or email us at bodiedfancast@gmail.com. Questions might be answered on the next episode. You can also leave a comment in the Reddit thread that we usually post. I think we see that a lot more than Twitter. Actually, we probably check that a lot more. So feel free to do that, or just on the YouTube comments.
I get updates directly to my phone, so I do see stuff going on Twitter.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, please tweet questions and stuff. We would love to have a more interactive fan base. I might just start like polling the C9 Discord before we do stuff, and just be like, hey, if you guys have questions for us.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Or if you just want to come up with a question. That way we can just have a bunch. But yeah, thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Okay, bye.